Hey everybody, and welcome to I Do Everyday Automation, where we talk about products and projects to make your life easier. On today's episode, I want to show you guys how I discovered that my Apple TV was still running applications in the background when I had a family member staying over for an extended period of time, and what I did to remedy most of these issues. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first thing I did was I actually logged into the controller and I noticed that my bandwidth was being chewed up quite a bit. Now, for some of you, this may not matter whatsoever, but for those of you who have data plans that you have to adhere to and stay within certain thresholds, this could be disastrous. As you can see, I have two devices that are using a ton of data, one of which is my server, which is backing up all of my media and important files. So I'm expecting that one to have high traffic. But I was surprised to see the Apple TV is in a close second by a long shot over every other device on the network, including my NVIDIA Shield and my Fire TV. As you can see here, the Apple TV is clocking in at about 452 gigs downloaded and about 4.54 gigs up, which is astronomical considering the other two streaming devices actually get used considerably more. So I'll give you the scenario real quick. I had a relative in town staying for an extended period, and they were using the Apple TV, which I placed in the guest room. I put it in the guest room because the interface is similar to Apple devices, and more family members and friends, I usually advise them to get Apple devices if they aren't as comfortable with being able to actually mess up and destroy your ecosystem like you can with Android. So I thought that would be easier to get them to stream stuff, if they have their own apps and their own preferred services that they like to use, that could work. And it has so far with most of my family members. Until this most recent discovery. If you use a streaming app on an Apple TV and you put the Apple TV to sleep, that app may very well still be running in the background. And that's exactly what was happening here. I discovered that the DirecTV Now app, which I use on the other TVs in the other rooms, as well as the Netflix app, were still running in the background, even though the Apple TV had been put to sleep. So this is very important, and it segues into what I wanted to start discussing on the channel, as multiple people have asked what I use and why I use it, and how it helps me with both automation and making life easier. This is a prime example. So since this, I actually unplugged and reset the Apple TV. There's a couple other things I did. I actually turned off the live wallpapers after doing a little discovery and research on the internet, and found out that the Apple live wallpaper actually consistently checks in with the server for updates. I also had to force close the apps that were running in the background. So if you're not going to be using this Apple TV as your primary device, make sure that you force close any of the apps that use any type of streaming, like Netflix and DirecTV. As well as I made sure that the settings are set to 1080p. A bunch of people mentioned that running it at 4K used up considerable more bandwidth comparing it directly to a Fire TV. So that's something else to look out for. And with this being said, so while we have the Ubiquiti controller up, I wanted to just show you guys some of the other features that you get with a more robust firewall or router setup and configuration that actually monitors your packets. And this is important because you can see where traffic is going. So we'll take a quick look at the overview here, and you can see the file sharing services, which I use Backblaze. I recommend it for backing up your PCs. It's $5 a month, and you can back up your whole PC regardless of how much storage you use. So far, I've backed up almost 2 terabytes. There's other web file transfer services. You can see there's some OneDrive data being transferred there, as well as GitHub, which of course, we use quite a bit for different projects here and there. There's other stuff, web services and business tools. You can see Microsoft Office 365, Skype for Business, which obviously I use for work. And then in the far right, you can see all of the streaming services. Now here's a good indicator of how Apple TV works as compared to some of the other services. As you can see, DirecTV and Netflix only make up for about 100 gigs. Remember, I told you that Apple TV was clocking in close to 400 and some change. So with that being said, the Apple TV actually uses different protocols and different back-end services to transfer data, which I thought was quite interesting. So this is just a breakdown by app, of course, of how much data it uses. And if you look, here's the protocol that Apple uses. It actually uses Akami.net as a back-end service to get you access to different apps. So that was why it wasn't showing up on the standard deep packet inspection, which was something else I discovered. So that's just a little something you can look for and actually make sense of if you have something that's a little bit more robust than what's provided by usually AT&T and Comcast. Because if you call them, they're just pretty much going to say you're using the data. But the reason this is important is because you can see with a program like Unify or with a system like this, the devices that are connected, the clients that are connected, which is what you're looking for, and actually how much data they're using, which is very, very important, because you can see if there's devices that are on your network that shouldn't be, which would be indicative of someone gaining access to your network maliciously and accessing your data. Not just your data, but also they could be using up your bandwidth, especially like I mentioned earlier, if you guys have any data caps that you run into. I know everybody doesn't want to pay for unlimited. I use quite a bit of data, so unlimited was ideal for me. But for those who are more budget conscious, you may want to use different options. So having a program or a device like this, which is, like I said, a little bit more robust, gives you the flexibility to do discoveries like this and make sure your network's running the way it should be. Alright guys, so based on the data, you can see that the Apple TV was really hogging quite a bit of data over a short period of time. And the reason this can be an alarming situation is if you have a data cap, you could well exceed it just by running one streaming device. And this goes for Fire TV sticks and Shields as well, although I haven't seen them act this sporadically in a short period of time. So things that you can do to remedy that would be turn off the automatic updates, especially if you're going to be gone for an extended period of time. Make sure that none of these applications, especially the streaming applications, are still running in the background if you're going to be gone for the day or anything like that. And make sure that you have a way, if you're using a smart remote like I am in my living room, to program them to actually set the device to the home screen before you turn off the TV. And that's why home network security is so important. I'll give you an analogy. Leaving your home network unsecured or not monitoring it appropriately is the same as leaving your keys in the car with it running and walking in the house and expecting it to be there when you come back. It could be, but what if somebody ran a red light or, a hit and run accident occurred and now you get the blame and the ticket? It's very similar to that with your ISP. They assign you an IP address in most cases, and what you do with it is kind of up to you. So if someone is accessing your network maliciously and doing things nefariously, that can come back on you. So that's why it's important to have a strong backbone for your home network security to make sure you can prevent intrusions or detect them, even if you can't necessarily prevent them. So when I saw this high spike in data, even though I have unlimited data, it was a cause for an alarm. My USG actually sends me emails basically capturing some of this information and sending it to me when something is out of the norm. So I was able to compare that to the data sheet on my ISP's website to what I was using to pinpoint which device was doing it. And that was how I discovered it was the Apple TV. And from there, I took the appropriate steps that I mentioned earlier to remedy this. We can get into a more detailed discussion later if you guys want. Just hit me down in the comments and let me know. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for this week's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I apologize for being gone for an extended period, but I had a couple of things I needed to take care of in the background. So hopefully we can get back to about a regularly weekly upload schedule as much as possible. I'm already working on the next video, which is actually about cord cutting and why I decided to stick with my DirecTV Now subscription as opposed to some of the other providers. I also cover the other providers and what you get for more of the basic, middle tier package. and which one I think would be a good value if you don't have the plan that I currently have with DirecTV now. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe so you see more content like this as I produce it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.